The 2026 World Cup gave us unforgettable goals, shocking eliminations, and memorable matches, but internet may remember something completely different.
The memes and stories that define the 2026 FIFA World Cup. And let's start with what became the very first meme.
It happened in the opening match. For this tournament, FIFA introduced a brand new feature. Whenever referees review the decision on VAR, they would now expect it to announce the final call over the stadium speaker in English, so that everyone inside the stadium could understand exactly what happened. The referee for the opening match, Wilton Sampaio, is Brazilian, so naturally his first language is Portuguese. Standing in front of the more than 80,000 fans with a microphone in his hand, he suddenly had to explain a major decision in English. He knew the referee was saying something important, he just had absolutely no idea what it was.
But while the referees were struggling to lay down the law on the pitch, there was one player who had absolutely no problem taking full control of the entire tournament: Kylian Mbappe.
The famous dictator meme reached a complete new level during this tournament. For years, football fans have joked that Mbappe secretly controls everything. This World Cup only added fuel to the joke. During one match, cameras caught him personally instructing stadium staff where to mop water from the pitch. Against Norway, he walked off the field, handed his captain armband to referee Michael Oliver, and simply pointed towards Erling Haaland as if he delegated the job himself. But the funniest moment happened after France beat Sweden. On the team plane, Ousmane Dembele and several teammates began chanting, while Mbappe clearly knew about the meme, and judging by his reaction, he was completely in on the joke.
Mbappe might be the undisputed ruler of the internet, but his biggest rival on the pitch, Lionel Messi, received a tribute in Argentina that looked less like a sign of respect and more like a warning to humanity.
The Argentinian region of Patagonia unveiled an 85-foot statue of Messi. The ambition was understandable, but the execution became a meme almost instantly. From certain angles, the statue appeared less like Lionel Messi and more like a giant humanoid creature that had been told that Messi looked like but had never actually seen him. It just looks absolutely cursed.
Now if you think a cursed 85-foot statue is the most disrespectful thing that happened to the football icon during this tournament, then you clearly didn't tune into Fox Sports.
For the World Cup, Fox assembled a dream panel featured Thierry Henry, Zlatan Ibrahimovic, Rebecca Lowe, and Alexi Lalas. And the idea made perfect sense.
It looked like Fox wanted to recreate their own version of the hugely popular Champions League Today show on CBS.
Fox didn't recreate the CBS magic, but instead they accidentally discovered something even funnier. They discovered that Zlatan and Henry absolutely love roasting Alexi Lalas. It all started after France's opening match. Lalas argued that France played with arrogance.
It's not arrogance, it's confidence.
Okay.
Ignorant people would say it's arrogance. Intelligent people would say it's confidence.
The funniest part wasn't even Zlatan's response, it was Henry's face. But the most viral moment actually belonged to Thierry Henry. During a live segment, Henry pretended to pass a ball towards Lalas, but Henry rolled the ball in the opposite direction instead. It was a television version of sending someone wrong way with a perfectly timed dummy.
While Lalas was getting utterly humiliated on TV without even touching a ball, Erling Haaland managed to become a viral sensation just by being himself.
During the tournament, almost everything he did became content.
I'm the social media guy.
His expressions were compared to Majin Buu from Dragon Ball Z. His honesty, the way he ran or walked, and after leaving North America, he was photographed carrying several souvenirs, including what appeared to be a taxidermy raccoon worth hundreds of dollars. Haaland may not have won the tournament, but he won hearts of people who didn't even care about football.
But while Haaland's bizarre facial expressions were entirely accidental, Zidane gave us the look that tells the entire story.
During Algeria's match against Argentina, the camera found Zidane in the stands watching his son Luka, who was in a goal for Algeria. Unfortunately for him, Messi was having one of those nights. Argentina scored 3 goals and at least 2 of them were scored because of the mistakes that Luka has made. Zidane's face instantly became one of the images of the tournament. It was a remarkable combination of disappointment, disbelief, and the unmistakable expression of father wondering whether he should say something or simply pretend that much never happened.
Watching your own son get left on the pitch is tough, but over in Brazilian camp, the internet was convinced that Carlo Ancelotti was going to extreme lengths to make sure one particular player never saw the pitch at all.
Endrick spent the opening matches almost entirely on the bench. For most players, that would simply be a selection decision, but for everyone, it became evident that Carlo Ancelotti was secretly hating him. The joke already had history. At Real Madrid, Endrick had also struggled for minutes under Ancelotti. So when exactly the same thing happened with Brazil, social media decided there could be only one explanation. Ancelotti would do absolutely anything anything, change formations, play someone out of the position, probably even sub himself on before giving Endrick minutes. The memes escalated after every match. Endrick, to his credit, handled it perfectly. He repeatedly defended his manager, saying Ancelotti was making decisions for the team, not for one player.
While Brazil's young star was desperate to become the face of his country's campaign, Mexico fanbase bypassed all their players entirely and chose a duck as their World Cup hero.
Merlin the Duck wore a tiny Mexico jersey, walked comfortably through the crowds, and quickly became one of the tournament's most beloved unofficial characters. And Merlin's story kept growing. He became a folk hero. He appeared in celebrations. He met Mexico's president Claudia Sheinbaum. He was even featured on the commemorative Mexico lottery ticket. At that point, he was no longer just a viral animal. He had become part of the national World Cup experience in Mexico. Unfortunately, Merlin was reportedly prevented from attending some Mexico's later matches. And like the Mexican team itself, his journey ended earlier than supporters had hoped.
But over in the Northern European section, Norwegian fans were busy launching a completely synchronized, unstoppable ship across the entire continent.
Norwegian supporters introduced one of the tournament's simplest and most infectious celebrations. They sat in rows and moved together as if operating an invisible Viking ship. At first, it remained inside stadiums. Then it escaped to the streets. Norwegian fans rode on escalators. They rode around baggage carousels. They rode in the Times Square. They performed it after victories. Then Norwegian politicians performed it inside the parliament. At that moment, the meme had reached the final form. Norway had discovered that almost any surface could become a Viking ship, if enough people were willing to sit on, especially in New York.
But the Norwegians weren't the only ones turning the entire North American landmarks into their personal playgrounds. The fans from Japan and Scotland were right there alongside them, hijacking entire cities with pure energy.
Japan supporters became some of the most entertaining travelers of the tournament, not because one of the specific celebration, but because every new interaction seemed to produce another viral clip. One local reporter approached two people wearing full Japan shirts and asked them, "Where are you guys from?" The answer was unsurprisingly Japan, but rather than being confused by the question, the supporters happily began praising Texas. The states had delivered exactly what had been advertised. Another moment featured a Japanese supporter carrying a Pikachu who was surrounded by Dutch fans. Instead of any hostility, the Dutch supporters lifted him into the air and began throwing him above the crowd while Pikachu traveled with him. And that was the wider stories of Japan's World Cup. The outfits were creative. They kept the stadiums clean after each match. The supporters were loud and the interactions were wholesome. Even when Japan left the tournament, their fans had already become some of its most popular characters, right on the same level as the Scottish fans. The Tartan Army crossed the Atlantic in enormous numbers, and wherever they went, they somehow turned entire cities into their playground. Local bars weren't prepared for what was coming, because they drank the city dry, forcing distributors to organize emergency keg deliveries just to keep pubs stoked. But the Tartan Army's reputation has never been just about drinking. It's about the atmosphere they create whenever they go. Bagpipes echoing through the city streets, songs that somehow get louder with every kilometer marched. Even getting to the stadium became part of the experience. Plus, they made baseball actually fun, and in a true Tartan Army fashion, they turned the trip into something positive, donating $10,000 from the proceeds to the local children's hospital.
Witnessing the chaos of thousands of fans singing and drinking across North America was a lot to take in, and if you want to know what that felt like, you just have to look at the viral dog who spoke for all of us.
A Brazilian supporter appeared online holding a dog that looked deeply concerned by what it was watching. The caption roughly translates to, "Oh no, the gray card again." Whatever the dog was actually inside the World Cup stadium was almost irrelevant. The expression was perfect. It looked like a supporter who had watched football for years and had no idea how VAR worked. And after a tournament full of complicated explanations, delayed decisions, and unclear announcements, the confused dog may have represented all of us.
But while a dog struggling to understand football rules is pretty strange, things crossed over into completely supernatural when England tried to play Ghana.
Nana Kwaku Bonsam described himself as one of the most powerful spiritualists in the world, and before the match he claimed to have placed a non-violent curse on England's captain. The exact purpose was simple: Harry Kane would not score. Normally this would have remained a strange pre-match story, and then the game finished in a 0-0 tie. Kane didn't score, and suddenly the internet had questions. Bonsam later released Kane from the curse, but England problems did not disappear. They eventually lost to Argentina anyway, despite parking a double-decker bus, so either the curse had lasting effects or Argentina was simply very good. You can decide which explanation is more convincing.
Whether it was a spiritual curse or just bad tactics, that match was nothing to compare to absolute fever dream of a game that unfolded when England shared the pitch with Mexico.
Jordan Henderson managed to receive yellow card and then leave the pitch on a stretcher without even getting on the pitch itself. Harry Kane gave a post-match speech in an Elmo voice.
Jordan, my place is gone.
Mexican coach Javier Aguirre asked Jude Bellingham for a jersey jersey, and then swearing at Anthony Gordon and laughing about it together. And all of that happened before anyone even attempted to explain the actual football. England eventually survived that stack up, but the entire match was absolute cinema.
The new expanded tournament format proved that sometimes that absolute best cinema comes from the teams you least expect.
Morocco vs Haiti was one of them. Morocco eventually won 4-2, but Haiti scored a goal so good that even some Moroccan supporters briefly forgot which team they wanted to win. One fan summarized it perfectly. That is the beauty of the World Cup. National loyalty matters, but sometimes a goal is so good that patriotism has to wait.
But if there was one thing that absolutely could not wait, no matter how good the football was, the hydration breaks.
The idea sounded reasonable. North American summer conditions could be extremely hot, so players needed opportunity to drink and recover. But the breaks were repeatedly used during every match, even when the temperature was comfortable and the weather presented no obvious danger. The actual reason why hydration breaks were introduced is because this is a convenient way to insert commercial breaks into a sport that normally refuses to stop.
But even those corporate ad breaks left a bad taste in everyone's mouth, the absolute magic of the fans quickly washed it away, reminding us of the deeply emotional, beautiful side of the sport.
One of the most heartwarming stories began with a young Mexican supporter named Santi. During the match in Mexico City, cameras found him celebrating in the crowd while wearing the rather unusual Mexico outfit, a green Christmas sweater, white shorts, and red boots. At first, viewers simply found the outfit creative and funny. Then they discovered why he was wearing it. Santi did not own an official Mexico jersey, but rather than allowing to stop him from representing his country, he used the clothes he already had and created his own version of the national kit. And judging by these celebrations, the Christmas sweater did absolutely nothing to reduce his passion. Once they found him, Santi received a personalized official Mexico jersey with his name printed across the back from Santi Jimenez. And the wholesome moments continue to happen in Mexico. During another match in Mexico City, a 7-year-old Uzbek supporter was watching his country play against Colombia. When Uzbekistan conceded, the young fan began crying in the stands. The Colombian supporters sitting nearby noticed him. They had every reason to continue celebrating their own team's goal. Instead, they turned towards the boy and began chanting,
Uzbekistan! 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 Uzbekistan!
That's why we love this beautiful game. Now I want to hear from you. Which meme or story truly defined the tournament for you? Leave your answers in the comments, and thank you for watching. Love this game and check out of my other videos. See you next time.